Hi folks, Six Slices here. This is a new knife I just got yesterday's birthday present, and this is a Boker Plus. Boker, one of the oldest knife makers in the world. They're a German Solingen-based company, but they make three ranges of knives. They have the Magnum range, which is kind of the cheaper end of the knives. Still quite nice knives, but they're Chinese made with generally sort of 440A sort of steel, that sort of thing, so towards the bottom end, come in very nice tin. So, and then you have the Tree brand at the other end, which are the Solingen made knives, tend to be more traditionals. They do some modern knives, but they tend to be the sort of the premium end. And then in the middle they have the Boker Plus range. The Boker Plus range are generally Far Eastern made, so generally Chinese, some Taiwanese, but they generally use fairly premium design and relatively premium materials. So the Magnum might be 440A, these are 440C. The Tree brand might be 440C or some sort of Sandvik steels, as a rule. But they've a broad range and they've been making knives for a long time. They make knives for other companies, so if you see sort of a lot of copperheads are often made by them, for example. Not the case ones, obviously. So inside we've got the warranty in several languages. We have a necklace chain. If you want to sling this around your neck, it's small and light, and that wouldn't be an improper use. Nice boxes are always nicely fitted. And they're magnet closed things, little silicone gel thing. And then of course we have the knife itself. Now this knife is called the Stowaway. It does have a number on the blade, which I tried looking up and I couldn't get anywhere with it, 0800. If you want to find one of these in the Boker range, the number on the back, the item number there, 01BO, so that's Bravo Oscar 029 is the model number. You can find it in that. So as I say, this is it's relatively premium but made in the Far East, so you tend to get reasonable quality out of them, which is very nice to see. This particular one, the Stowaway, is designed as a backup knife that you can keep in a wallet. I'll show you some uses for it in a second. But the handle is made of titanium. The spring is steel. The spring, of course, the clip rather is made of steel. It's removable, so if you want to really make it stowable in a wallet or something, then you can remove that, and it becomes just 3mm thick, and that's 1/8 of an inch compared to. The Herman here, the Herman's blade is 3.6mm thick. This knife and handle is 3mm thick. So this is thinner than the blade stock of the Herman. I mean, granted, this isn't a competitor for the Herman, but just to give you an idea of scale. It's, as I say, the blade is 440C, and I dare say, if you were a bit more nimble than me, you could probably open this one-handed. As it is, I have to use two hands, but at least I can open it on the camera. The designer of it is marked on the blade there. Is a guy called John Kubisak, New Hampshire, and so he's an American designer. He's made a couple of knives with Boker, and he's done a few on his own bat. Sometimes he even has ones with a carbon fibre blade with the edge. So he's specialising in lightweight knives. This one has well, as you can see there, if I can get the light on it right, not blind you with it, 440C steel. You can obviously see in here how it works. So it's interesting if you want to know how frame lock knives work. You've got a detent ball there, which is what keeps it closed, and you've also got just in there, you've effectively an over travel stop, because with not having another scale on the other side of this knife, it would be so easy to just push the lock bar past the edge of the blade, and you know, then it would fold the other way. You can see the lock up here is pretty solid, but it's not going to over travel, as I say, because of that little stop. There's an interesting pivot, which I presume is sort of a riveted thing. I don't think it's screwed in, but I think it must just be pressed in or riveted in. Because you've just the one scale, in order to keep the edge from cutting you when it's folded, you've got this carbon fibre piece at the end here, and under which the edge and the tip just fit just enough to keep it safe. What stops you catching your fingers on this bit of the blade, which is obviously exposed, is the fact that it is not a sort of standard grind, but it's a chisel grind. In other words, the back of the knife is flat, so that the flat of that blade sits hard against the scale there. And I suppose you probably could force your skin into that and catch yourself, but it's not obviously going to do it. And you know, I can run my thumb over there and it's not catching. In order to keep the weight light, they have put lightning cuts in both the handle and clearly in the blade. So it probably is not the most robust of knives, but it's robust enough certainly for a backup knife. I don't think this is really intended to be your one and only everyday carry. In terms of what you can do with it, its size is sort of interesting because it's about the same length as a credit card. And you can, just as a sort of an example, I never carry cash, but I've always got something kicking around, I hope. So I have one note. I had a £5 note, which is probably about $6, if that's of any interest to you. But if you can use it as a money clip, you can hold, maybe probably as many as 3 or 4 cards, but certainly if you've got a couple of cards and a couple of notes, that works. That works perfectly well. What have I got that's similar? The only obvious comparator in my collection at the moment is the Subcom, which is also from Boker Plus, and shares with it a couple of interesting sort of comparators. One is made of titanium, and 2, the blade is, you can't see that there, can you? 440C, 2861 being the number on this one. So it's a much higher number. I don't know if that means it's much newer. The Subcom is a bit chunkier. And obviously it's smaller in terms of a knife that way, but you've got 2 scales on it, and both those scales it'll sit on there, are probably twice as thick as the single scale on the Stowaway. So I have used this as a money clip for a while, but actually, incidentally, this one is a UK legal version. Although it has the frame lock type of frame, the blade is a little bit longer, so that the lock never engages, but the detent secures the blade. Now, what's the downside to this one as a money clip is that it's much heavier. So it works in the same way. But it doesn't, you're not having the deep carry clip, the cards don't go quite up to the top as they do in that. And as a result, you end up with this thing that's really quite heavy and not particularly usable in your pocket, whereas this there is a smaller version called the credit card knife, by the way, which is just a little bit shorter. All the other dimensions are the same, it's just the whole thing is shorter. But this, in terms of a more usable money clip knife, it's, you know, it feels light. The total weight of this is just over an ounce, 1.1 ounce. Just by way of comparison, so in grams, 32.7 grams. According to the literature, it's 32 grams. My scale says 32.7. The Subcom is a much beefier 55, and I know that's only 23 grams more, but it's almost double. So you know, you do feel that. Plus, not having the deep carry clip that this does, and also this is a longer clip, so the actual grip element of that is, let's get the old ruler here, the part that actually holds your knife is 1 3/4. Sorry, holds your credit cards and your money, and this one, the part that holds your credit card and your money, is 2 3/8 inches long. So you know, this certainly holds your money better. It's much more of a usable thing, and it doesn't feel like you've got this big weight hanging off the end of your wallet. As I say, 3mm thick versus 0 that. 0 if you don't mind. This again excluding the clip, you're talking about just over 7mm thick. So again, this is twice as thick as the Stowaway. And just in terms of overall dimensions, if it matters, I don't know that it does particularly. I mean, from a UK legal point of view, it's a lock knife, so it's not strictly legal. In fact, it's just not legal, let's face it, forget strictly. It's about 90mm long. It is about, if I could pick the ruler up, 27mm wide. Blade length, I mean, this is one where the blade length is an arguable point. Because it's all exposed, one could argue that the blade is anything up to, oops, sorry, I'm clumsy, let's do it this way around, it's easier. It'll be easier this way because I have more room. Get rid of the junk. Yeah, blade length, one could argue that the blade is 3 1/4 inches long because you can see that much. You could measure it from the pivot and it would become 3 inches long. You could measure it from the end of the handle and it becomes 2 3/4 inches long. You could measure the cutting edge and it becomes 2 5/8, 2 11/16, something of that order. So that's a bit of a movable feast. I think in Britain you run against the problem that it has this this lock, and that's more likely to be your issue. One could, I suppose, probably file the edges of that so that one will slip off the other, and you don't have to press the lever. But I'm not sure that you're likely to get into a lot of trouble with this, except that if you try to make it a concealed weapon, you know, try to hide the fact you've got a knife behind the fact that it's in your wallet or whatever. There are particular provisions that would cause a problem with that. But other than that, it's a nice little piece actually. It's, you know, it's slim, lightweight. Whether they are still much available, I don't know, because it's a slightly older model. Oops. One thing, when you fold it, you do have to be a little bit careful that you get that blade under the carbon fibre piece there. But there we are. So I have to thank Lewis and Ruth for this, and I think this is a knife that actually could get a bit of use as a backup knife, and it will certainly take the place that my Subcom has filled for a long time, mainly because it's so much lighter. I know 55 grams doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've got 32 grams in your hand, this suddenly feels like a boat anchor. So there we are. Thanks very much for watching, folks. If you like this stuff, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of it, please remember to subscribe, and if you want notifications, you must ring the bell. So thank you very much. See you again soon. Bye.